The human ships moved slowly into their battle positions like pieces on a giant chessboard. Captain Lee Sang-ho watched from his bridge as each vessel took its place exactly where he needed it to be. The aliens thought the humans were just spreading out to make themselves harder targets, but they were wrong. Every human captain knew their exact position down to the meter. Captain Choi Min-ho guided his cruiser Stormbreaker to coordinates that looked random but were carefully calculated. Captain Yang Soo-jin moved her battleship Thunderstrike to a spot that seemed defensive but was actually the key to their entire plan. Lieutenant Bae Ji-hoon kept all communication channels open so the aliens could keep talking and laughing. This was part of the plan, too. While the enemy commanders mocked human ships and made jokes about easy victory, Bae was secretly sending coded messages to the other human vessels using frequencies the aliens could not detect. The Korvac fleet moved closer to the humans like a pack of wolves surrounding sheep. Their massive ships cast shadows across space, and their weapons glowed with deadly energy. The alien crews were relaxed and confident because they had done this so many times before. They knew exactly how this battle would end. What the aliens did not know was that humans had been studying them for months, too. Every Korvac ship movement had been recorded and analyzed. Human intelligence officers had watched hundreds of alien battles and learned their patterns. The Korvac always attacked the same way because it always worked. The enemy formation was predictable. The biggest ships would move to the front and use their heavy weapons to destroy the human flagship. Then the smaller vessels would spread out and hunt down any survivors. It was efficient and brutal and had never failed against any other species. But humans were different. Humans had learned something that no other species understood. When you cannot win with strength, you must win with intelligence. When you cannot fight fair, you must fight smart. The human fleet looked weak and desperate, but appearances can lie. Captain Song Mi-young sat on the bridge of her frigate. Quick strike and checked her instruments one more time. Her small ship looked harmless to the aliens, just another weak human vessel that would run away when the shooting started. But hidden in her cargo hold was equipment that could change everything. The other frigate captains, Lee Jun-ho and Park So-min, were also ready. Their ships carried the same secret modifications that had been installed in complete darkness while their crews slept. The work had been done by engineers who disappeared immediately after finishing their job. Every human ship had been changed in ways the aliens could not see or understand. Sensors had been upgraded with new technology that could track enemy movements through dimensions the Korvac did not know existed. Weapons had been modified with systems that operated outside normal space-time. The alien commander continued broadcasting his threats and insults to the human fleet. He told them about all the other species the Korvac had destroyed. He described how their cities had burned and their people had begged for mercy that never came. He wanted the humans to know fear before they died. But the human crews were not afraid anymore. They were focused. The months of secret training and preparation had led to this moment. Every person on every ship knew their job and trusted their commanders to use the hidden weapons at exactly the right time. The destroyer Iron Fist appeared to be the command ship because it was the largest human vessel. This was exactly what Captain Lee wanted. The aliens focused most of their attention and firepower on his ship, while ignoring the smaller vessels that surrounded them, like invisible daggers. Commander Kim Do-young monitored the alien fleet movements from his tactical station. The enemy ships were behaving exactly as the intelligence reports had predicted. They were confident and careless, moving into positions that would have been smart against any normal human fleet, but were disasters against what they really faced. The Korvac had made their first mistake. By underestimating human intelligence, their second mistake was believing their own propaganda about being superior warriors. Their third mistake was not understanding that humans never fight the same battle twice, deep inside the Iron Fist machines. that had never been tested in combat were quietly coming online. Systems that existed only in theory were becoming reality. The ship that looked like a normal destroyer was actually humanity. Greatest scientific achievement disguised as an ordinary warship. The crew could feel something changing in their vessel. The vibrations were different. The air tasted strange with energy. The lights flickered in patterns that seemed almost alive. Captain Lee knew that Project Silent Death was activating, exactly as planned. The other human ships were changing too, but in ways so subtle that even their own crews did not notice. Weapon systems were shifting into new configurations. Shield generators were tuning to frequencies that did not exist in normal. Physics engines were preparing to move in ways that would break every law of motion. Lieutenant Bae Ji-hoon received confirmation signals from every human captain. All ships were ready, all systems were online, all crew members were at their battle stations. The trap was set, and the aliens were walking right into it like blind giants stumbling toward a cliff. The Korvac fleet continued its advance completely unaware that they were about to face something no species in the galaxy had ever seen. The human ships looked primitive and weak, but they were actually the most advanced vessels ever built. Their simple appearance was the perfect disguise. Captain Lee thought about all the people back on Earth who were depending on this mission. Billions of humans lived their lives not knowing that their entire species might end today. If the secret weapons failed, the Korvac would sweep through human space like a plague, destroying everything in their path. But he also thought about all the human scientists and engineers who had worked in secret for 5 years to make this moment possible. They had sacrificed everything to give their species one chance at survival. One moment when the weak could defeat the strong through intelligence and courage. The alien weapons were charging to full power. Now their plasma cannons could melt asteroids, and their energy beams could cut through planets. The shields protecting their ships sparkled with enough energy to power entire solar systems. They were ready to demonstrate their overwhelming superiority. The space between the two fleets crackled with tension. Human crews gripped their weapons, and alien crews prepared for another easy victory. Neither side could see the invisible forces that were about to change everything. The laws of physics themselves were about to be rewritten. Captain Song-mi. Young checked her special equipment one final time. The modifications to her frigate were working perfectly. Systems that should not exist were running smoothly. Technology that belonged in science fiction was about to become deadly reality. The largest Korvac battleship moved into attack position, its massive weapons aimed directly at the Iron Fist. The alien captain was still laughing as he prepared to fire the shot that would start the battle. He had no idea he was about to witness something impossible. Captain Lee looked at his crew and saw determination in their eyes. They knew the odds were against them, but they also knew they carried humanity's greatest secret. The ship around them was not just a destroyer, it was hope itself, made of metal and energy and human dreams. The final seconds before battle stretched like hours. Every human heart beat with the same rhythm. Every alien weapon hummed with the same deadly song. The universe held its breath as two fleets prepared to discover which was really stronger advanced technology or human ingenuity. Then the first alien plasma bolt fired across space toward the human fleet, and everything changed forever. Captain Lee Sang-ho stood on the bridge of his ship looking out at the biggest fleet he had ever seen. The alien ships filled the dark space like angry metal stars. Each one was huge and shiny with weapons that could destroy planets. The human ships looked like tiny toys next to them. The bridge was quiet, except for the soft hum of machines. Everyone knew they were about to die. The 20 human ships were nothing compared to the 300 alien warships that waited for them like hungry wolves. The aliens called themselves the Korvac, and they had destroyed 12 other worlds already. Lee Sang-ho was 40 years old and had been fighting in space for 20 years. He had seen many battles, but never anything like this. The alien ships were 10 times bigger than his destroyer Iron Fist. Their weapons glowed with deadly energy, and their shields sparkled like rainbow fire. The humans had basic steel ships with simple guns that shot metal bullets. Commander Kim, Do Young walked over to his captain with a data pad in his hands. His face was pale, and his hands shook a little. The numbers were terrible. 300 enemy ships against 20 human ones. The aliens had plasma cannons that could melt through anything and energy. Shields that could stop any human weapon. It was like trying to fight tanks with sticks. The communication system crackled to life, and alien voices filled the bridge. They spoke in their own language first, then their computers changed it to human words. The translation was clear and full of hate and mockery. The alien commander was laughing at the humans. "The human ships are pathetic," the alien voice said with cruel joy. "Your weapons are toys from a museum. Your armor is thin as paper. We will crush you like insects and then destroy your homeworld." The other alien crews were laughing too, their voices joining together in a horrible sound that made the human crew members look at each other with fear. Captain Lee kept his face calm, but inside his heart was beating fast. He had a secret that the aliens did not know about. Hidden deep in his ship was something called Project Silent Death. Only 5 people in the entire human fleet knew about it. Not even his own crew knew what was really inside their ship. The aliens kept talking and laughing. They offered the humans a chance to give up without fighting. "Your ships are so weak." They said, "Why do you even try to fight us? We have conquered worlds with better technology than yours. You are nothing but primitive animals playing with fire." Lieutenant Beiji Hoon sat at the communication station, listening to every word. The aliens were telling the truth about their weapons and ships. They were much stronger and more advanced than anything humans had. But he also knew about the secret project. He had helped install some of the hidden equipment weeks ago. The alien commander continued his speech. "We will give you one chance to surrender. Admit that we are your masters, and we will kill you quickly. If you fight us, we will make your death slow and painful. Then we will find your home planet and do the same to everyone there." Other human captains were listening on their own ships. Captain Choi Min-ho commanded the cruiser. Stormbreaker and Captain Yang Soo-jin led the battleship Thunderstrike. They all knew about the secret weapon, but they also knew it might not work. This would be the first real test, and if it failed, humanity would be finished. The Korvac ships began to move into attack formation. They spread out across space like a net closing around the human fleet. Their weapons started to glow brighter as they charged up for the first attack. The alien crews were excited because they thought this would be an easy victory. The largest alien ship was as big as a small moon. It had enough firepower to destroy a city with one shot. The captain of that ship was the one doing most of the talking. He told his crew to get ready for some fun. They would play with the humans before killing them. "Look at their tiny ships," the alien captain said to his crew. "They are so small, we could step on them like bugs. Their weapons cannot even scratch our shields. This will be easier than our last conquest. We will be done in time for the victory feast." The human ships looked helpless as they spread out in what seemed like a desperate defensive pattern. But Captain Lee knew better. Each ship was exactly where it needed to be for their plan to work. The positions looked random to the aliens, but they were carefully planned. Captain Song Mi Young commanded the frigate Quick Strike, and she was nervous but ready. Her small ship looked weak to the aliens, but it carried important equipment for the secret mission. Captain Lee Jun-ho and Captain Park. So Min also commanded frigates, and they were in position too. The aliens finished getting ready for battle. Their massive ships blocked out the stars, and their weapons could destroy the human fleet in minutes. They had done this many times before. The pattern was always the same. Show up with overwhelming force, demand, surrender, destroy everything when the enemy refuses to give up. But something felt different this time. The human ships were not trying to run away. They were not begging for mercy. They just waited quietly in their formation, like they were waiting for something. The alien commander thought the humans were too scared to move. The Korvac had studied human technology for months. They had captured human ships before and taken them apart piece by piece. They knew exactly what weapons humans had and how weak their defenses were. There was nothing the humans could do that would surprise them. Human weapons were kinetic projectiles that shot metal bullets at high speed. Their energy weapons were basic laser beams that could barely damage alien hull plates. Their shields were weak, electromagnetic barriers that any plasma cannon could burn through in seconds. The aliens had better technology in every way. What the Korvac did not understand was how humans thought. When humans could not win with strength, they found other ways to fight. They used tricks and surprises and tactics that no other species had ever tried. They refused to accept defeat even when it was certain. Captain Lee looked at his crew and saw fear in their eyes, but also determination. They knew they were probably going to die, but they would not give up without a fight. The human spirit was something the aliens had never learned to measure in their equations. The destroyer Iron Fist was the biggest human ship, but it was still tiny compared to the alien vessels. It drew most of the enemy attention because the aliens thought it was the flagship. They wanted to destroy it first to break human morale. This was exactly what Captain Lee wanted them to think. The other human ships scattered around the battle area looked harmless to the alien commanders. They were just support vessels and transports that would run away when the real fighting started. The aliens planned to hunt them down after destroying the main ships. This was their biggest mistake. Deep inside, the Iron Fist machines were quietly turning on systems that had never been tested. In real combat, were coming to life. The crew did not know what was happening in the hidden sections of their ship, but they could feel something changing. The ship felt different somehow, more alive and dangerous. The aliens sent one final message. Before attacking, prepare to die, humans. Your species is too weak to survive in this galaxy. We will erase you from history and take your worlds for ourselves. No one will remember that humans ever existed. Captain Lee smiled for the first time since the battle began. He activated his communication system and sent a message back to the alien fleet. Thank you for the warning. We will remember your words when this is over. Then he gave the order his crew had been waiting for. All ships prepare for combat engagement. Let them see what humans can really do. The space between the two fleets crackled with energy as weapons charged and shields activated. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin, and the aliens had no idea what they were really facing. The laughter was about to stop forever. The first alien plasma bolt screamed through space like a falling star, leaving a trail of deadly energy behind it. The beam was hot enough to melt steel and bright enough to blind anyone who looked directly at it. It struck the Iron Fist right in the center and exploded in a shower of sparks and flame. The Korvac crews cheered as they watched the human flagship take the hit. They expected to see the destroyer break apart or explode. But something strange happened instead. The ship seemed to absorb the energy like a sponge soaking up water. The damage that should have destroyed it only made it glow brighter. Captain Lee sang. Ho smiled as his ship shuddered under the alien attack. This was exactly what he had been waiting for. The plasma. Energy was not harming his vessel, it was feeding it. The alien weapons were actually making the Iron Fist stronger with every shot. More plasma bolts fired from the Korvac fleet, lighting up the darkness of space with deadly colors, red energy beams, and blue plasma streams and white-hot laser pulses all struck the human ships. The other vessels scattered and twisted to avoid the worst hits, but some took damage that sent metal fragments spinning into the void. To the watching aliens, it looked like panic. The human ships seemed desperate and afraid, running from the superior Korvac firepower like frightened animals. The alien commanders laughed even louder as they ordered their gunners to keep firing. They thought the battle was already over, but Captain Lee knew better. His ship was not running, it was positioning itself. The damage his destroyer appeared to take was actually part of the activation sequence for the most secret weapon humanity had ever built. The Iron Fist was not just a warship. It was a laboratory disguised as a destroyer. Deep inside the ship hull, panels began to slide away, revealing hidden chambers that had been sealed since construction. Strange machines hummed to life systems that used principles of physics most humans did not understand. The crew felt the deck vibrating under their feet in new and unusual ways. Commander Kim. Du Young watched his instruments with amazement. Numbers that should not exist were appearing on his screens, energy readings. That broke every rule he had learned in engineering school. The ship around them was changing, becoming something that had never existed before in the history of warfare. The destroyer hull began to shift and reconfigure like a living thing. Metal. Plates moved to new positions, revealing weapon ports that had been invisible moments before sensor arrays unfolded from hidden compartments and energy conduits, rerouted themselves into patterns that seemed to glow with their own light, Lieutenant. Beiji Hoon felt electricity in the air around his communication station. The quantum transmitter was coming online, and it was unlike anything he had ever experienced before. He could suddenly sense the other human ships as if they were extensions of his own body, their thoughts and movements flowing together in perfect harmony. The aliens noticed something was wrong, but they could not understand what they were seeing. The human destroyer was growing larger somehow, its energy signature changing, in ways their sensors could not measure. Some Korvac commanders ordered their ships to focus all fire on the Iron Fist, but strange things began to happen. The plasma beams that had been hitting their target perfectly began to miss by impossible margins. The destroyer seemed to flicker in and out of existence like a ghost ship that could not decide whether to be real. Energy readings showed it in multiple locations at the same time, which should have been completely impossible. The secret was something no alien species had ever discovered. Humanity had learned to bend the rules of space and time itself. The Iron Fist was not just moving through normal space, it was moving through dimensions that existed between the cracks of reality. 5 years of secret research had led to this moment. The greatest minds in human science had worked together to create technology that could make the impossible possible. They had studied quantum mechanics and dimensional theory and found ways to apply them to warfare. The destroyer was now partially existing in what scientists called quantum space, a realm where matter and energy followed different laws. Ships could exist in multiple locations simultaneously, and weapons could strike targets that were thousands of kilometers away. The aliens had never heard of such things. Captain Lee activated the ship communication system and sent a message to every human vessel in the fleet. The message was simple, but it changed everything. All ships activate. Quantum Systems' Project Silent Death is now operational. Show them what humans can really do. The other human ships began to change, too. Their hulls shifted and new weapons emerged from hidden compartments. The modifications that had been installed in secret were finally revealing themselves. Captain Choi Min-ho watched his cruiser transform into something that belonged in science fiction. The frigates commanded by Captain Song Mi-young and her fellow officers were the first to demonstrate the new technology. Their small ships suddenly moved in ways that defied physics, appearing and disappearing like ghosts, slipping between dimensions as easily as moving through normal space. The aliens stopped laughing. The Korvac fleet that had been so confident was now facing something they had never seen before. Human ships that could exist in multiple places at once. Weapons that could strike from impossible angles. Technology that made their own advanced systems look primitive. The largest Korvac battleship tried to target the Iron Fist with its most powerful weapon, but the destroyer was no longer where their sensors said it should be. The massive plasma cannon fired at empty space, while the real target had moved to a completely different location. Captain Lee felt the power flowing through his ship like electricity through his veins. The quantum drive was fully operational now, allowing the Iron Fist to slip between dimensions, like a knife sliding between ribs. They could appear anywhere, attack from any angle, and disappear before return fire could find them. The first quantum torpedo fired from the destroyer's hidden weapon bay. It was not like any weapon the aliens had ever faced. The torpedo existed in multiple dimensions, simultaneously phasing through shields and armor as if they were not there. When it struck the nearest Korvac cruiser, the results were spectacular. The alien ship simply came apart at the molecular level, its atoms scattered into space like dust in the wind. There was no explosion, no fire, just a massive warship that suddenly ceased to exist. The Korvac crew had no time to scream or even understand what was happening to them. Other human ships fired their own modified weapons, kinetic rounds, that could phase through multiple targets, energy beams that struck from directions that should not exist, missiles that appeared inside enemy hulls without passing through the space between. The laws of physics had become weapons in human hands. The Korvac commanders shouted orders in panic, trying to understand what was happening to their invincible fleet. Their massive ships with their advanced technology were being destroyed by weapons they could not comprehend, vessels that had conquered. Worlds were dissolving like sugar in acid. Captain Yang Sujin watched from her battleship as the Iron Fist demonstrated its full capabilities. The destroyer moved like lightning between the alien ships appearing behind them, beside them, even inside. Their formations. Each appearance brought death to another Korvac vessel. The alien fleet that had seemed so overwhelming was now the one being overwhelmed. Their 300 ships were powerful, but they could not fight an enemy that existed outside the normal rules of combat. The humans had found a way to cheat physics itself. The space around the battle filled with the remains of Korvac ships that had been torn apart by impossible weapons. The aliens who had laughed at human technology were now dying by the dozens, their advanced shields and armor useless against attacks that came from other dimensions. Captain Lee looked out at the chaos his ship had created and knew that everything had changed. The balance of power in the galaxy was shifting. Humanity was no longer the weak species that could be easily conquered. They had become something new and terrifying. The destroyer Iron Fist moved through the battle like death itself, claiming alien lives with every quantum jump. The secret that had taken 5 years to develop was working better than anyone had dared hope. The aliens had stopped laughing and started dying. The battle was far from over, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. Humans had proven that intelligence could defeat strength, that innovation could overcome raw power. The Korvac Empire was about to learn why it was dangerous to underestimate the species called humanity. The Korvac fleet commanders stared at their screens in complete shock. The human destroyer had just done something that broke every law of physics they knew. The ship had been in front of them one moment and behind them the next without traveling through the space between. It was like watching magic happen in the cold reality of space. Captain Lee Sang-ho felt the quantum drive humming beneath his feet as the Iron Fist moved through dimensions that most beings could not even imagine. The ship existed in normal space and quantum space at the same time, allowing it to appear anywhere in the battle area instantly. The aliens had never seen anything like it. The destroyer materialized directly behind the largest Korvac battleship, a vessel so massive it could have held a small city. The alien crew frantically tried to turn their weapons around, but the Iron Fist was already gone, disappearing into quantum space before their guns could track it. Commander Kim. Do Young watched the tactical display with amazement. The quantum sensors showed their ship in 12 different locations simultaneously, each one real and fake at the same time. The aliens could not target what they could not understand, and they definitely did not understand. Human quantum technology. The next attack came from above as the Iron Fist dropped out of quantum space directly over the alien formation. The destroyer fired its quantum torpedoes down into the enemy fleet like a hawk diving on mice. 3 Korvac. Cruisers disintegrated before their crews even knew they were under attack. Lieutenant Bae Ji-hoon coordinated with the other human ships through the quantum communication network. His messages traveled instantly across impossible distances, allowing perfect timing between vessels that were scattered across thousands of kilometers. The alien jamming systems were completely useless against technology that operated outside normal space. The human frigate Quick Strike, commanded by Captain Song, Mi Young, demonstrated the next phase of the attack. Her small ship suddenly appeared inside the enemy formation right between 2 massive Korvac destroyers. The aliens were so surprised they almost fired on each other trying to hit the human vessel, but the frigate was already moving through quantum space again, appearing on the other side of the alien fleet before firing a spread of phase torpedoes back at the ships it had just left. The weapons struck 3 targets simultaneously, even though they had been fired in different directions. The Korvac tried to adapt to this impossible new form of combat. They spread their ships out and created overlapping fields of fire, but the human ships could appear anywhere at any time. The aliens found themselves shooting at empty space while death struck them from directions they had not even thought to defend. Captain Choi Min-ho guided his cruiser Stormbreaker through a quantum jump that brought him face-to-face with an alien battleship. The enemy crew had barely enough time to register his presence before the cruiser fired its main guns at point-blank range. The Korvac vessel armor crumpled like paper under the assault. The quantum technology did more than just allow teleportation. It let human ships exist in multiple realities at once. A single destroyer could attack from 5 different angles simultaneously, each attack real and deadly. The aliens were fighting an enemy that could be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The Iron Fist demonstrated this by appearing in 3 locations around a Korvac heavy cruiser. Each image was solid and real, firing actual weapons that destroyed actual targets. The alien ship found itself under attack from impossible directions as quantum torpedoes phased through its shields and tore its hull apart. The psychological effect on the Korvac crews was devastating. They had trained to fight enemies that followed the normal rules of physics, ships that moved in straight lines, and fired weapons that traveled through normal space. The humans were doing things that their minds could not process. Some alien ships began firing wildly in all directions, hoping to hit the human vessels by chance. Others tried to retreat, but found quantum-enhanced humans appearing in front of them no matter which direction they fled. The battle that had started as a simple conquest was becoming a nightmare. Captain Yang Soo-jin watched from her battleship Thunderstrike as the destroyer continued its impossible dance through the enemy fleet. The Iron Fist would appear next to an alien ship, fire its weapons, and vanish before return fire could reach it. Each attack destroyed another piece of the Korvac armada. The aliens tried to use their superior numbers by surrounding areas where human ships appeared, but the quantum drives made this tactic useless. A human vessel could be completely surrounded by enemies and still escape by jumping to a different dimension before reappearing somewhere else entirely. The Korvac commander sent desperate messages to his remaining ships, ordering them to use new tactics against this impossible enemy. But how do you fight something that can appear anywhere, attack from everywhere, and disappear before you can respond? The normal rules of space combat had been thrown out completely. Captain Lee felt the power of the quantum drive flowing through his entire body as the Iron Fist moved through dimensions most people did not know existed. The ship was responding to his thoughts as much as his controls becoming an extension of his will rather than just a machine he commanded. The destroyer appeared inside the enemy formation again, this time right next to the alien flagship. The massive Korvac command ship was so big it had its own gravity field, but size meant nothing against weapons that could phase through any defense. The quantum torpedoes struck the battleship core, causing explosions that lit up space like a new Star Other. Human ships were learning to use their quantum systems too. Captain Lee Jun-ho brought his frigate out of quantum space directly above an alien destroyer. The surprise attack destroyed the enemy vessel before its crew could even sound an alarm. The Korvac were being hunted by ghosts that struck without warning. The alien fleet began to lose formation as panic spread through their ranks. Ships collided with each other in their desperation to escape the impossible human attacks. Captains, who had been confident and arrogant, were now screaming orders to flee as their vessels were torn apart by weapons they could not understand. The Iron Fist appeared in the center of the largest group of enemy ships and fired in all directions simultaneously. The quantum weapon struck 8 different targets at once, each torpedo finding its mark with deadly precision. More Korvac ships dissolved into atomic dust as the human destroyer continued its deadly dance. Captain Song-mi Young coordinated her frigate with 2 other small human ships to perform a maneuver that should have been impossible. All 3 vessels appeared in the same location at the same time, existing in overlapping quantum states before separating to attack different targets. The aliens who saw it happen could not believe their eyes. The battle space filled with the wreckage of alien ships that had been torn apart by impossible physics. The Korvac fleet that had numbered 300 vessels was shrinking rapidly as human quantum weapons claimed victim after victim. The invaders who had come to conquer were being systematically destroyed. The alien communications filled with panic as Korvac commanders tried to understand what was happening to them. They reported human ships that could not be hit, weapons that came from nowhere, and attacks that defied every law of science they knew. Their confidence had turned to terror. Captain Lee knew that the battle was reaching its turning point. The quantum technology had given humanity an advantage that no alien species could match. But he also knew that the real test was still coming. The largest and most dangerous Korvac ships were still intact, and they would not give up easily. The Iron Fist prepared for its next quantum jump one that would take it directly into the heart of the enemy fleet. The destroyer would appear inside the alien flagship itself, bringing death to the command structure of the invasion force. The quantum drive hummed with power as it prepared to make the impossible possible once again. The humans had proven that movement itself could be a weapon, that appearing and disappearing could be more deadly than any gun or missile. The Korvac had laughed at human ships, but now they were dying because of human innovation. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the weakest-looking enemy is actually the most dangerous. The moment had come for the human fleet to show its true power. While the Iron Fist drew alien attention with its impossible movements, the other ships prepared to unleash weapons and tactics that would change space warfare forever. Captain Lee Sang-ho had given them the signal, and now every human vessel would reveal what 5 years of secret development had created. Captain Yang Soo-jin stood on the bridge of her battleship Thunderstrike as hidden panels slid away from the ship hull. The vessel that had looked like a normal human battleship was transforming before her eyes. Weapons that existed only in classified blueprints were emerging from concealed compartments. The battleship main guns had been completely rebuilt with quantum enhancement technology. Instead of firing simple metal shells, they now launched projectiles that could phase through multiple targets before exploding. The first salvo from Thunderstrike passed through the shields and armor of 6 alien ships. As if they were made of air, each quantum-enhanced shell carried enough energy to destroy a building. But when they phased back into normal space inside enemy hulls, the results were devastating. The Korvac cruisers that were hit simply came apart. From the inside out, their crews vaporized before they could understand what was happening. Captain Choi Min-ho watched his cruiser Stormbreaker reveal its own hidden modifications. The ship communication system had been upgraded with quantum transmitters that could coordinate attacks across vast distances instantly. Every human captain could now think and act as one mind, controlling 20 ships as if they were fingers on the same hand. The cruiser weapons opened fire in perfect synchronization with the other human vessels. Their targeting computers shared information through quantum links that updated faster than light. Every shot was calculated to hit weak points that had been identified by the collective intelligence of the entire. Fleet Lieutenant Bae Ji-hoon felt the quantum communication network flowing through his mind like electricity. He could sense every human ship and crew member as if they were part of his own body. When Captain Song Mi-young prepared to fire her frigate weapons, he knew about it before she even gave the order. The human fleet had become a single organism with 20 deadly parts. The alien commanders tried to understand what was happening, but their individual ship minds could not comprehend the collective intelligence they faced. The Korvac fought as separate vessels, each making its own decisions and fighting its own battles. The humans fought as one perfect machine, with each part knowing exactly what every other part was doing. Captain Song Mi-young brought her frigate Quick Strike out of quantum space right next to an alien destroyer and fired her enhanced weapons. The phase torpedoes struck the enemy ship in 12 different locations, simultaneously causing a chain reaction of explosions that tore the vessel apart in seconds. The other human frigates, commanded by Captain Lee Jun-ho and Captain Park So-min, appeared on opposite sides of the alien formation. Their coordinated attack caught the Korvac completely off guard. Ships that had been focusing on one threat suddenly found themselves under fire from multiple directions at once. The quantum weapons were unlike anything the aliens had ever faced. Energy beams that could bend through space to strike targets behind. Cover missiles that existed in several dimensions at once, making them impossible to intercept kinetic rounds that could pass through solid matter before becoming deadly again. The Korvac tried to use their jamming systems to disrupt human communications, but the quantum network operated outside normal space-time. No amount of electronic interference could block messages that traveled through dimensions the aliens did not even know existed. Captain Yang Soo-jin coordinated her battleship attack with the destroyer Iron Fist through the quantum link. The two ships appeared on opposite sides of the largest alien formation and opened fire together. Their combined assault created a crossfire that no enemy vessel could escape. The Thunderstrike railguns fired quantum-enhanced projectiles that could change their target while in flight. The shells would start moving toward one alien ship, then phase into quantum space, and reappear heading for a completely different vessel. The Korvac gunners could not predict where the deadly rounds would actually strike. More alien ships died as the human fleet demonstrated tactics that broke every rule of space combat. Vessels that should have been safe behind cover found themselves under attack from weapons that could fire around corners. Ships that tried to retreat discovered that distance meant nothing to enemies who could appear anywhere instantly. The psychological warfare was as effective as the physical destruction. The Korvac crews had been trained to fight in formations with predictable weapon ranges and normal physics. The humans were attacking from impossible angles with weapons that defied explanation. Panic began to spread through the alien fleet like a virus Captain Choi Min-ho used his quantum-enhanced sensors to track enemy movements through multiple dimensions. He could see where the alien ships were and where they were going to be, allowing him to fire at targets before they even arrived at their destinations. The storm. Breaker guns hit empty space that suddenly filled with exploding enemy vessels. The human frigate commanders worked together like dancers in a deadly ballet. Their small ships would appear in perfect formation around larger alien vessels, then fire simultaneously from all directions. The concentrated attack would destroy targets that should have been too heavily armored to damage. Captain Lee watched the battle unfold through his quantum link with every human ship he could see through 20 pairs of eyes, and think with 20 different minds. The collective intelligence showed him patterns and opportunities that no single person could have noticed. The Iron Fist continued its quantum jumps between enemy ships, but now it was part of a larger pattern. Each attack was coordinated with the other human vessels to create maximum damage and confusion. The destroyer would appear to distract alien defenses, while frigates struck from different angles. The alien fleet began to break apart, as individual ships tried to flee the impossible battle. Some Korvac vessels attempted to retreat to safe distances, but discovered that there was no such thing as safety against enemies who could appear anywhere instantly. The quantum-enhanced human. Weapons could strike targets that were thousands of kilometers away by phasing through space to hit them. The fleeing alien ships found themselves under attack even when they thought they had escaped the battle area. Completely, Captain Song Mi Young demonstrated the ultimate evolution of the quantum technology by splitting her frigate into multiple quantum states. Her ship appeared to be in 5 different locations at once. Each image solid and real and capable of independent action. The aliens found themselves fighting one frigate that had become a squadron. The Korvac commanders sent desperate messages to their remaining ships, trying to coordinate a defense against the impossible human attacks. But how do you defend against enemies who can attack from any direction at any time with weapons that ignore all physical barriers? The battle that had started with alien laughter and confidence had become a massacre. The 300-ship Korvac armada was being systematically destroyed by 20 human vessels that fought with technology and tactics beyond alien comprehension. Captain Yang Su-jin felt the quantum network flowing through her mind as she coordinated with every other human captain. They moved their ships like pieces in a chess game where the rules changed with every move. The aliens were playing checkers, while humans played 4-dimensional chess. The Thunderstrike appeared directly above the alien flagship and fired its quantum-enhanced main guns down into the massive vessel. The shells passed through the ship shields and armor before exploding inside the command center. The Korvac admiral died without ever understanding how human technology had become so advanced. More alien ships tried to form defensive formations, but the quantum weapons made such tactics useless. Human attacks could come from any direction, including from inside the formations themselves. The Korvac found themselves shooting at their own ships in confusion as quantum enhanced. Rounds appeared to come from everywhere at once. The human fleet had unleashed its full power, and the results were beyond anything the aliens could have imagined. The technology that had seemed like magic was actually science pushed to its absolute limits. Humanity had found ways to weaponize the fundamental forces of the universe itself. The battle was far from over, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. The Korvac Empire had met an enemy that fought with intelligence instead of brute force. Innovation. Instead of overwhelming numbers, humanity had proven that sometimes the smallest force can win the biggest victory. The moment of final victory was at hand. Captain Lee Sang-ho made the decision that would end the battle and change the course of galactic history. The Iron Fist would make one last quantum jump, not to attack from outside the enemy flagship, but to appear directly inside it. The destroyer would materialize in the heart of the alien command ship like death itself, arriving without warning. The quantum drive hummed with more power than it had ever channeled before as the Iron Fist prepared to do something no ship had ever attempted. The destroyer began to fade from normal space, while simultaneously calculating the exact position needed to appear inside the massive Korvac battleship captain. Lee felt the familiar sensation of quantum translation, but this time it was different. The ship was not just moving through dimensions, it was threading itself through the gaps between atoms, passing through solid matter as if it were empty space. The technology that had seemed impossible was about to prove that impossible was just another word for difficult. The Iron Fist materialized inside the alien flagship main hangar bay, appearing like a nightmare come to life. The Korvac crew members who witnessed the impossible sight of a human warship existing where no ship should be able to survive stared in complete terror. Their minds could not process what they were seeing. The destroyer was surrounded by alien fighters and equipment, but none of that mattered now. The Quantum. Torpedoes fired at point-blank range, tearing through the flagship internal structure like fire through paper. Each explosion created chain reactions that spread throughout the massive vessel. Commander Kim Du Young watched his instruments register damage readings from inside an enemy ship. The quantum sensors showed the alien flagship tearing itself apart from within as the torpedoes destroyed critical systems and caused cascading failures throughout the vessel. The Korvac admiral tried to send one final message to his remaining fleet, but the communication systems were already destroyed. His last words were a warning about human technology that his people could not understand or defend against. He died knowing that his empire had underestimated humanity in the worst possible way. The flagship began to break apart as internal explosions ripped through its hull. The massive vessel that had seemed invincible was collapsing like a house of cards. Each quantum torpedo had struck at exactly the right point to cause maximum structural damage. Lieutenant Bae Ji-hoon coordinated the final attack through the quantum communication network. Every human ship fired simultaneously at different targets, creating a symphony of destruction that echoed across the battle area. The remaining Korvac vessels found themselves under attack from weapons they could not see or understand. Captain Yang Soo-jin watched from her battleship Thunderstrike as the alien flagship died in a storm of fire and metal. The massive explosion lit up space, like a new star temporarily blinding anyone who looked directly at it. The command ship that had led the invasion was gone, and with it, any hope the aliens had of victory. The psychological impact on the surviving Korvac ships was immediate and devastating. Their flagship was destroyed, their admiral was dead, and they faced an enemy that could do impossible things. Some alien captains tried to maintain discipline, but panic spread through their crews like wildfire. Captain Choi Min-ho used the confusion to press the human advantage. His cruiser Stormbreaker appeared next to 3 alien destroyers and fired quantum-enhanced shells that passed through all 3 vessels before exploding. The chain reaction destroyed the entire enemy squadron in seconds. The Korvac fleet began to collapse as individual ships tried to escape the battle. Each fleeing vessel found itself pursued by human ships that could appear anywhere and strike from any direction. The aliens who had come to conquer Earth were being hunted like animals. Captain Song Mi-young demonstrated the ultimate refinement of human tactics by using her frigate to herd fleeing alien ships toward the other human vessels. Her quick strike would appear in front of retreating enemies, forcing them to change course directly into the weapons range of waiting human ships. The quantum technology had given humanity more than just advanced weapons. It had given them the ability to control the battlefield itself. Space and time became tools in human hands, allowing them to be everywhere they needed to be and nowhere their enemies expected them. The few surviving Korvac commanders tried to coordinate a fighting retreat, but the quantum communication network allowed the humans to predict and counter every move. The alien ships found themselves trapped in a web of attacks that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Captain Lee Jun-ho brought his frigate out of quantum space directly in front of a fleeing alien cruiser. The enemy ship tried to change course, but found another human vessel waiting in that direction too. The Korvac crew realized they were completely surrounded by enemies who could appear anywhere, instantly. The battle became a systematic hunt as human ships tracked down every surviving alien vessel. The quantum sensors could detect enemy ships through multiple dimensions, making it impossible for the Korvac to hide. The invaders who had laughed at human technology were learning that laughter dies quickly in the face of superior science. Captain Yang Soo-jin coordinated with the Iron Fist to destroy the last group of alien heavy cruisers. The battleship and destroyer appeared on opposite sides of the enemy formation and fired simultaneously. Their quantum weapons struck the Korvax ships from directions the aliens had not even thought to defend. One by one, the proud Korvax warships fell to human innovation. The 300 ship armada that had seemed unstoppable was being reduced to floating debris by 20 human vessels. The impossible had become inevitable as human intelligence try.